Welcome back, comrades. This is Gaming with Austin, and today, three of the Utopian Community series. The best way to not support capitalism, to cut your support for capitalism, is when it goes to buying products. Go for the best. For the cheapest. This is how to fight capitalism. Go for the best value if you want to fight capitalism. In a society in which rich people who give to the poor get executed, that is pure fascism. And if we fight climate change, eventually we're going to go into a post-scarcity economy. If we fight global, if we try to... If this was a fascist country and I tried to go into politics, like going towards taxing the rich, I'd probably get executed by the National Socialists. You know, it's funny how Cannibal Corpse cannot perform at Disney World, yet the lead singer goes there all the time. It's pretty funny. How Cannibal Corpse cannot perform at Disney World, yet the lead singer goes there all the time. It's actually really funny. One of the motives for Hitler's Lebensraum, one of his motives was racism. His motives for Lebensraum were actually pretty racist. How can we achieve true communism? Ditch fossil fuels altogether. and all the non-renewable resources. Yes, even nuclear fuel. All the money that would be taxed from the rich would go towards research and healthcare. How to stop greed? Increase the abundance of food is how to stop greed. Because when food is legitimately scarce around the world, people would literally fight to the death over a Pop-Tart. People would literally fight to the death over a Twinkie. Or a packet of ramen noodles. People would literally fight to the death. They would literally fight to the death. That's when greed goes from out of choice to out of necessity. Between lions and zebras, that's how the Commonwealth pronounced it. When it goes to politics, when it goes to my brother, he's a right-wing libertarian. For me, I'm a left libertarian. I am a left libertarian. When it goes to, like, I'm a libertarian communist, also known as an anarchist communist, which is a form of libertarian socialism. That combines elements of both libertarianism, which means limited government, and socialism, which means democratic control of the means of production, and the social ownership. The type of economy a fascist country would have would be a command state capitalist economy. Hitler was a really greedy jerk. Lenin tried to put Stalin in power, but then Stalin ended up betraying Lenin. He ended up betraying Lenin. What motivated the betrayal? Anti-Semitism. The only way how we can achieve true communism is if we all go vegan. Some of us will still eat meat. Yep, but we need to educate people about the dangers of eating meat, no matter what. Some people go against genetic testing for religious reasons. In the dictatorship of the proletariat stage of communism, our goal is to increase production of the basic necessities. Repurpose our wants into needs. Like toys you don't use would be repurposed into something more useful. You don't need cigarettes to survive. You need food to survive. What drives greed in a famine? Survival drives it. If there was a famine around about 600 to 800 million years into the future, there'd be a really bloody war. Crime rates will go up to where even people would literally fight violently over resources. Like, even going towards totalitarianism will not stop the violence. And in that scenario, there's nothing you can do. People would blow shit up. Like, they would rig cars with people would literally rig cars with explosives. That famine, 600 to 800 million years into the future, would be caused by carbon dioxide starvation, in which there's not enough carbon dioxide. What will cause that to happen? As the sun gets brighter, the earth gets hotter. In that scenario, we wouldn't be the ones causing climate change. The solution to that scenario is the United People's Republic would start placing solar sails on the equator. They'd literally place solar sails on the equator to push the Earth farther and farther from the sun. They'd push the Earth farther and farther from the sun. And Trump, if Hillary would have won, Trump would have threatened America with a civil war. Proof about why capitalism must be abolished. Racism helps capitalism. I see racism as a catalyst to capitalist societies. And some companies use racism to maximize profits. Like, some companies, multinational companies, commit wage theft on ethnic minorities. Which is pretty sad. For the sole purpose of enslaving them. When you go to a concert, you're not necessarily supporting capitalism. Because sometimes entire rock bands are actually socialist. Like, for example, Rage Against the Machine. A lot of punk rock bands, like Green Day, pop punk bands like Blink-182, and the Ramones, they tend to go against capitalism and fascism. Even though a person making a minimum wage can go to a concert, especially if they live with their parents. There are people out there in this world who cannot hold a job. If my kids get a job and I had a job, I'd share the wealth with my kids. To make it fair. Fascism What motivated Hitler into invading a lot of countries? Racism can be a motivation for invading countries. In the fascist country in my story, Mazurkiewicz would probably end up getting enslaved by the fascist party. Since he is a vegetarian, they'd force feed him bloody hunks. Like, they'd force him out of vegetarianism with human flesh. By force feeding him actual human flesh. In the prison camps, how the genocides occur? Some of them would... babies would be forced into the world just so they could die later in life. So they could be killed later in life. When they're no longer productive. Is productive because of age. The reason why capitalism must be abolished, the same reason you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Just because it says free market on the cover, that is the cover of capitalism. The truth is, there's nothing free about it. There's nothing free about a free market. People are not as free in a free market economy. Ultimately, people are not as free. When it goes to trying to achieve true communism, the only way how we're going to do it is if everybody left meat off their plate. One of their ideologies in the fascist country's ideologies would be anti-vegan sentiment. When you take something that is required away for survival away from someone, they're gonna lash out. It applies for every animal on this planet. Not just people, but every animal you can think of. They are gonna lash out. Just like if you run away from a starving lion or tiger, they're gonna run after you. And if they don't eat for long enough, they're gonna die. Because you never see a lion stalk plants. And Paul Mazurkiewicz, the drummer for Cannibal Corpse, he is a vegetarian. Meat is really bad for the environment. Some people are just... And water is something that is required for all life on Earth. Even bacteria need... Even the most bacteria need water too. It's even required for bacteria to function, because without it, bacteria will die. before we can achieve interstellar travel, like with the genetic engineering technologies, greed is only used in should only be used in an emergency situation. Corporate greed, it's not an emergency situation in which they should be greedy. The reason why cats are really greedy is that their food, it's either, if you let your prey live, you're gonna die. If you kill your prey, you'll survive. It's basically a constant war between obligate carnivores and herbivores. It's always a struggle between the two. No, that struggle will not stop unless we genetically modify them through evolution. Some viruses are actually pretty useful in fighting off infections. Those viruses are called bacteriophages. The rise of superbugs, it is brought on by something called intensive animal farming. Not only is one of the concepts within capitalism is intensive animal farming. I'd compare animal abuse to racism. I'd compare factory farms to prison camps. How are we going to achieve that post-scarcity economy? It's going to involve a bit of selective cultivation, which a plant with the most amount of fruit would be used to cultivate more fruits. Life in the Stone Age was really violent. If we share the wealth, is the only time we'd be allowed to share wealth if there is enough food, more than enough food for everybody, we'll be allowed to share the wealth. Otherwise, you wouldn't be allowed to. You know, in fascism, they exploit the scarcity of natural resources to their advantage. In fascism. There's no need to privately own a business. What we need... businesses... When I started working at vocational rehab back in July, the reason I decided to exempt from taxes is that I didn't want to subsidize the rich. When it goes to workers, economically, I'd be conservative towards the workers, yet I'd be liberal for the rich. Socialism has concepts from both conservatism and liberalism. Some conservatives refer to Democrats as fascist and racist, because they had a racist history. The liberals back in the 1800s were kind of racist. Compare that to modern-day liberals. Compare that to modern-day liberals. Some liberals are still racist, but not as racist as they used to be. And Maurice Bessinger, he was a liberal. An old-school liberal. A paleo-liberal. And skyscrapers can help house millions of people. Heavy metal has a lot of roots within the working class. There is nothing free about a free market. Capitalism destroys freedom. Socialism restores freedom. How come nothing in this world will ever be free? Truth is, if there's a famine and you cut down prices, it's a big no-no. Because you need that to people would be so greedy that they wouldn't be able to sell their stuff, their food. In fascism, they oppose humanitarianism. Just like a North Korean high-ranking official got executed for giving his food rations to someone in need. Anymore. The fascist country in the story, the dictator would be loosely based off of Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, and Kim Jong-un. A quote from the dictator would be, quote, "Say Kyle! I'm not saying it to promote Nazism, I was quoting that. When people are told to listen to their enemy, they go, all hail the ruler. Just like how the fish in the SpongeBob SquarePants film went full on all hail plankton. Plankton is sort of based off of Adolf Hitler. And in the stage of dictatorship of the proletariat, we would go towards mass production of resources. Like when you adjust it for inflation, everything's actually getting... Computers have been getting cheaper. In some jobs in the world, computers are a need instead of a want. In some cases, computers are a requirement. In the fascist country, internet would be a privilege to the government elite. In the fascist country, in order to take part in politics, I have to quote this so I wouldn't be racist. You must be full Germanic blood. They would call that the full Aryan blood. You must not have any homosexual or bisexual family members, living or dead. Because I have to quote this so I wouldn't be racist and homophobic, as I myself am actually bisexual. Anyways, this is it for this video. Don't forget to leave a like if you liked this video, dislike if you disliked it, subscribe for more. As always, thank you for watching, and peace out.